the song I was
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Podcast and I. No, that was terrible.
You know, the thing I always think of when I think of that song is, I can't remember which Austin Powers it was, but I just think of Dr. Evil singing
and
that
Mini-Me,
song.
right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Was that was the second one, because that was when Mini-Me came in.
Yeah, Mini-Me wasn't in the first one.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to
Oh
Small Town Film Ghosts.
Hey, I'm Jared.
My name's Todd Leiser, and it's just the two of us today.
Yeah.
Our co-host Julie is unable to make it, but
Yep.
I think we should still be able to, steer this ship in these rocky waves.
I think we can.
Gonna
The
try.
irony there too is that the movie that we're talking about is called Two of Us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Pretty perfect.
It's one of those jokes where we kept making, and then I realized the other layer of the joke.
Yeah, we've got layers. We've got so many layers we don't even see half of them.
This movie, Two of Us, it's currently on tinpantheater.com on the virtual website. I plugged it last week if you listened, so hopefully you've gotten a chance to watch this movie. If not, again, it's there. Just click on that virtual Tin Pan link at the top of tinpantheater.com, and you're going to see the movies that are available.
It's quite the movie.
This is France's official entry for Best International Picture for the Oscars.
For 2021?
For this upcoming Oscars.
Oh, okay.
So for like the general award season.
Okay.
Which it's still so interesting to me that it used to be called Best Foreign Picture, and now it's Best International
Picture. Yeah.
Which honestly,
that makes more sense,
cool.
right?
I in a world where Parasite has now won Best Picture at the Oscars,
right.
You can't. Yeah. The word foreign film maybe connotates things that like it probably puts up a barrier to a lot of people, and I think maybe if you call something Best International Film, more people might actually see movies that they might not otherwise see.
There's also something extremely condescending about America being like every movie that's not in English is foreign.
Yeah, totally. Totally, yeah.
That's kind of lame.
I wonder where the xenophobia in America comes from.
Yeah, who knows, right? But it's funny too. Like some years, I can't remember the last time, but some years if there's like a British film or a Scottish film that's in English, it's still considered.
No,
does it has to be in a different language?
It has to be in a different language.
Okay.
That's the thing.
So why?
That's why like Slumdog Millionaire is absolutely competed like any other American movie.
It was like 95% English.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as the movie's in English, it is not considered a foreign film.
Okay.
By at least by Oscar rules and most other voting bodies. Like every awards show has their own rules.
Right.
Like that's why we talked about Minari last week and how because more than half of that movie is not in English, the Golden Globes own specific rules that dictated why it was considered a foreign film, even though it's an American movie.
Okay. Yeah,
awards bodies are weird, guys.
That is weird because it is like I looked it up just a couple days ago. That is an American movie.
Oh yeah,
Minari is an American movie.
Absolutely.
So the logic there doesn't make much sense at all.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
so tell us about Two of Us.
So this movie, Two of Us, like I said, the official entry by France for this, best international picture.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a 2019 movie, but the movies that come from overseas to compete in the best international category during the award season are always like a year or two old sometimes.
Right.
The director himself, never heard of him before, Filippo Meneghetti. Sounds like he's an Italian, but
sounds Italian, yeah.
Working in France.
Yeah.
And I mean, basic plot of the movie: two elderly women who are neighbors have been lovers for decades. That's essentially the main setup. This is one of those movies where I almost don't want to. I want to do my best to not get into too many details because I do feel like the enjoyment for this movie is, not that there's a lot to spoil, but learning all the information that these characters learn as the movie goes is a lot of the what makes it exciting to watch and enjoyable to watch.
I would say that it tiptoes around 3 or 4 different genres as it goes.
Absolutely, I totally totally agree.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll say right here at the very top, I think, and my main takeaway from this movie that I made this note about halfway through, and it's the thing I'm thinking about most, is that this is a movie with technically low stakes,
Right.
but high stakes for these characters,
Right.
which is sort of that sweet spot that, like, when movies can achieve that, where even though technically when you think about it, it's like, oh, like, it's not like there's real dire situations for these characters, but when the characters are developed well enough,
Yeah, you care.
Yeah, and
100%.
the things that happen in this movie are high stakes for these characters, and that it makes it so rewarding to watch this movie. And it also, like you said, tiptoes into other genres that it by no means is a genre movie.
No.
But it uses the tools and tactics of maybe like a thriller or something, just a little bit here and there, just to kind of keep you on the edge of your seat and keep like, oh, like, I'm invested and this is a exciting, tense moment, even though again the stakes are pretty low.
Right.
But the movie does it well enough that it captures you and it keeps your eyes glued to the screen.
Yeah. I had a moment, I think probably 45 minutes into the movie, where I was like, this really feels like the movie that Michael Haneke never made. Like, it's very much like, by the way, the filmmaker, like, what, can you tell me his name again?
Let me go over here. It is Filippo Meneghetti.
Okay, Filippo Meneghetti directs the hell out of this movie.
Oh yes,
every
absolutely
single
agree.
Frame is perfectly devised.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah. When I was thinking about again how this movie's dipped into so many genres, this movie visually, just, oh my gosh, and my high praise for its visuals really come down to the fact that, again, the movie is a simple character piece.
Sure.
But it communicates so many of its ideas visually and doesn't depend on exposition and dialogue so well. Like there is so much good framing and composition that communicates so many ideas that you don't need things to be said explicitly.
Right.
And when you see a director do that, and when you see a film do that, one of the things I thought about is how, if this is, again, a pretty simple script, and under the hands of a different director, it would have been a really boring movie. But
sure.
But under his direction, Filippo Meneghetti's direction,
your
I
hung on every word. I hung on
every
word of the movie. I expected, no offense, I expected it to be boring. Like when I read the description, I expected it to be very slow, very plotting.
Yeah, I get it.
Like I assumed it was going to be lovely and have these nice character moments and everything like that, but I expected to be kind of like, okay, I'm ready to,
Yeah.
But I never was. I was, because there are, Meneghetti directs the film almost in moments like he is directing a thriller.
Definitely.
And so you're like, holy crap, where, like, what? How did this get so intense so quickly?
Yeah.
You know.
In a way, like, this is, if I could recommend any movie to my parents, I would recommend this movie.
This one, yeah.
And I am kind of generalizing my parents a little bit, just because I know that they are, they're older in their 70s. They like French and European movies, but they don't like things to be, too intense.
Sure.
But this movie just sort of grazes the edge of intensity just enough so that, like, again, you are hooked in. But like you said, I was thinking about, there's been a lot of movies specifically that have come from France in the last couple of years that I thought this was going to be like. And it definitely shares a lot of characteristics with most French cinema that I expect.
Right.
But there's like there's an ominous quality to this movie.
Oh yeah. Have you seen 45 Years?
I have not.
Okay.
But I was thinking about that one. I was also thinking of another movie I haven't seen, Amour.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that one. And there was one with Catherine Deneuve that came out a couple years ago that I was also thinking of.
Okay.
But yeah, the reason why I say that I would recommend kind of this movie to my parents, and really, I'm again sort of generalizing. I'm thinking about the Tin Pan Theater audience and the folks who often come to our theater, and I really would love for our audience to come and see this movie because I think it will satisfy that audience that likes a good film about characters in their later years, but it also again has just a little bit of surrealism and there's a darkness to the movie that is not overbearing. It gives you just a little bit just so that you grab on a little bit more, and then there's more to chew on with this movie than your run of the mill French romantic drama.
Yeah, it could have been very dry, and it never really is. This is a mild spoiler for the first 15 minutes of the movie. There's a shot in it that I haven't been able to quit thinking about. I don't know. Should I? It's like a first act. It's like the end of the first act spoiler.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so these two women are in love, deeply in love, and they live in the same building, and one of them is going to sell her apartment, so the two of them can go to Rome.
Yep.
The woman, however, isn't able to tell her children that she wants to do that and that she's in love with a woman.
Yeah.
So basically, the two women get in this huge fight because it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So the woman who's more forward comes home, and so the camera is just sitting on the stove.
Yep.
And it's looking at, I think it was a piece of meat.
It's a skillet burning on the stove.
Burning on the stove.
Yeah.
But we're on it for a solid minute or two, just watching this food burn in the skillet. And then we see the woman come into the kitchen, and she looks down at the ground in front of the stove.
Yeah.
And the woman has had a stroke. The other woman has had a stroke. But we can't see her from where we are.
Yep.
So this entire 2 minutes that we're spending looking at this skillet, we're like, this is kind of the least important thing in this room right now, but we can't see anything else. It was just such an interesting choice.
I totally agree. I think the info for the plot that we've just given, I think, is the perfect amount that you should know going into this movie.
Right.
And that shot particularly, because that's where if you think about script structure, that's sort of the moment when everything gets thrown in a whole new
everything
direction.
Goes bad.
But that shot specifically, I remember when it happened, because it happens after the two of them have this argument.
Right.
And so the fact that the first shot you see afterwards is this skillet burning, and it's slowly burning. You can tell oh, someone's not watching this.
Right.
It's the food that's in the skillet is gonna start burning. And at first I made a note of, oh, this is really great visual allegory for what is going on in the movie, because these characters have just had this argument, and now
they're reaching the boiling point. Simmering.
And then you see her in the foreground, out of focus, come into the frame, and then you see she looks down on the ground, and the only noise that you hear is just the burning skillet. You see her talking and in stress about what she's looking down on the floor. And you understand that her friend has fallen, and eventually you do find out it's a stroke. But there's so much that goes on just in that shot that is both allegorical for what is going on in the narrative, and then is also just only gives you the visual information you need to understand what's going to happen going forward in the movie.
We didn't even need to, it didn't need to be some beautifully framed, we see the woman slowly fall in slow motion to some gorgeous haunting string music. None of that. The sound design to this movie felt downright experimental. It really did.
Definitely,
there
are a lot of shots or a lot of sequences, honestly, where we are following characters just maybe moving from one environment to another, and we're sort of lingering on their face or their body movement, and the only noise you hear is some sort of non-diegetic sound design, or maybe just a very simple music cue.
When I was in high school, I was super obsessed with the Dogma 95 film movement. I was obsessed with it. Especially the Vinterberg ones, like Thomas Vinterberg, I think,
like Celebration.
Yeah, Celebration, The Party, like certain ones like that. I was really into like Julian Donkey Boy and a few of those other ones, but the Celebration, something about that really connected to me, and this almost felt like the perfect logical extension of the Dogma 95 movement, where it's like there is like real lighting and real music and real cinematography, but the movement and the feeling and the sense of motion all feels natural and real and lived in.
Yeah,
you know?
In a way, a lot of the sort of extra flair that we usually expect from a movie is simplified in this movie.
Right.
But because of there was obviously a lot of work between the actors and the director that they figure out who these characters are, how we're gonna communicate who the characters are, what their relationships are, that they really didn't need much to make us as an audience understand what they're going through, and what their troubles are. Because again, without getting into details of spoilers, this movie is really about the way that we as people will keep secrets from each other, the way that things boil underneath, and how you can keep secrets for a long time. And you definitely watch this movie and you have this thought of like, oh my gosh, I just want them to be able to see what their truth is, and my gosh, I just wish that they could open up and communicate. And this movie definitely does a good job of keeping you in that uncomfortable feeling for a long time, and still making it worth it to watch the story that unfolds.
Right. Well, and one of the women is very afraid to come out.
Yep.
And one of the women is like, dude, nobody cares. It's 2020. Like,
we're retired now.
Yeah, and we're seniors. Like, double nobody gives a shit about us, right? Mm-hmm. So like watching that dichotomy of these two women who feel so differently from each other, that to like there's also like I have a feeling like if you just sat down and you read the script, you'd be like, oh, this also like are they trying to say like love conquers all a little bit? Like it could have. There are moments of the movie that could have felt so manufactured and so phony, but they never do. The pain and the misery that's in this movie, which there's a lot of it. There's a lot of. It's a pretty like that was.
It's not only about having a secret about having a love life. It's also about how do I establish the relationships with my immediate family, like with my children, and how do I have I been a good mother, things like that.
But even on the most like if I was going to write a 1 or 2 sentence blurb like in a festival or something program for this movie, you could also just advertise it as this is a movie about if you're in like a loving long-term queer relationship and one of you gets sick and almost dies, you have no rights. That's a huge aspect of this movie.
I was definitely thinking about that a lot. You kind of can't watch this movie without thinking about the legal in and outs in our modern day and age when we think about visitation rights and things like that, and how any sort of queer couple is not going to have the same rights as any traditional heterosexual couple.
Right.
And while again the movie doesn't explicitly talk about those things, like that's all subtext.
Right.
But the way the movie uses that idea to its benefit is that essentially the main character is Nina. She's the one that we follow through most of this movie.
Right.
And the struggle that she has through this movie is it's all of the minute details of caregiving that are the things that are in her way.
Right.
And those are the things that are destroying her, or that are just like wrecking her inside. That it's all the it's almost like the movie is actually kind of a good commentary on the way that bureaucracy just gets in the way of our human emotions
and chews you up and spits you out at the end.
Totally. And how like there are characters doing things with the best of intentions and they have no idea how they are just absolutely destroying Nina and how it's just like wrecking her. But all these characters are just like, I'm just trying to do my job essentially.
Right. Yeah, they're all. It almost makes you feel like, again, another part of the subtext of the movie, of which there's dozens and dozens, is that ultimately we're the only stars of our own movie, and that at the end of the day, nobody else gives a shit because we're just cogs in their story. You know?
To totally bring that back, and I think this is kind of like a good final thought, is that, again, this movie is about low stakes but high stakes for these characters. It's just the little details, those little minutiae that in our own lives, when we know the things that we are struggling with, just like the simple day-to-day things can be a big struggle to get through it. And the fact that this movie does a good job of knowing it doesn't need to really up the ante to make it a good, dramatic, worthwhile story to tell. It's just about, you know, the struggle in the minutia, and I think that's what really makes this movie really shine.
You know, I felt a little harder on it after watching it than I do today. The thing that really rubbed me wrong, but now the more I think about it, the more I'm okay with it, is that like remember how when we were in an episode that we never aired on that maybe one day you'll hear. We talked about the movie The 40-Year-Old Version. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about that movie is how a lot of movies that are focused on people of color are about trauma.
Yep.
And so I had a moment being like, why does this queer love story have to be all about trauma? Like why? It almost in moments felt like an exploitation movie to me a little bit, but it comes about itself honestly.
Oh yeah,
the story is honest and it follows the logical extremes in a way that doesn't feel like manufactured drama. So ultimately, like when I was feeling upset about like why does all of this have to be so miserable for these people? Why can't we celebrate this love instead of worry about this love? But at the same time, like it feels like an authentic story. So I can't use that as a complaint because it would only feel like exploitation if it didn't feel authentic.
Totally. It taps into sadness without exploiting it.
Right. Agreed. It's a beautiful film.
It is a really beautiful movie. I would definitely recommend it. Even if you don't think that you might be into this, if you're just like I'm not sure, give it a shot. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. Be prepared for some sadness. Maybe get some tissues if you think you're that kind of movie watcher.
It makes me sad that our theater isn't open right now.
Oh my god, our audience would love this movie.
This movie playing in this space
we would be sold out. We would be sold out. It's definitely that kind of movie. And honestly, like I understand that sometimes I have different tastes from our audience, but like every now and then a movie like this comes along and I'm like, I'm right there with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
I feel like saying this movie is not the movie that you think it's gonna be. Like it's really not. It's a lot. There's a lot going on with it.
And again, even if you just watch this movie for the visuals, I think it's
right. Oh, and the woman that played Nina is her name's Barbara Sakawa, I think is how you pronounce it.
Is the actress German?
She's German, yeah. She is one of the female leads on the TV show 12 Monkeys.
Oh.
She's the scientist that makes the time travel happen the 12 Monkeys TV show.
Oh, nice.
She is so amazing on that show. So if you love her in this movie, watch her in all 4 seasons of 12 Monkeys because she is astounding on that show.
Nice. Yeah. I love the recommendation, and how we'll leave you breadcrumbs to follow.
It's a legit show. Like
I believe
it deserves.
I have good memories of watching the Terry Gilliam film, so I should probably give that show a shot at some point.
It's hilarious because the whole Terry Gilliam movie is the first episode of the series.
Oh, that's fun.
And then it just shoots off from that. Anyway.
All right, cool. So those are our thoughts on two of us. We
rent it from us. If you rent it from us, it literally puts the money in the pocket of Tin Pan Theater to keep our doors open.
If you want to keep us going, that's the way to do it. Go to the Virtual Tin Pan website. You can find the movie there. If you're a member, you'll get a discount on it or something like that. I forget how it works. But hey, come and support us the best way you can.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to a break and then we'll be back in a minute or two.
Yeah, what are we gonna talk about when we come back?
Oh, we want to talk about queer cinema, but I specifically want to talk about queer cinema and the way it's received here in Bend.
Ooh, I'm in.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
All right.
Hey everybody, it's Todd here. I hope you enjoyed Jared and I's discussion of Two of Us. The movie is still currently playing and available to watch on the Tin Pan virtual site. If you want to go see that movie, it is right there. Again, I think if you heard our discussion, you can tell that we enjoyed the movie. After the break, Jared and I have a discussion about modern queer cinema and also the LGBTQ movies that have played at Tin Pan in the past. You get our thoughts on how these films have been received by audiences in Bend and how much we like these movies. It's just sort of a discussion, not just about modern queer cinema, but how those movies have played in Bend and how we think audiences have reacted to them in the past. Let's see. Next week, it's going to be all three of us again, and we have two documentaries that we're going to be talking about. One is Gordon Lightfoot, Read My Mind, which has been on the website for a couple of weeks now, but we wanted to give it a focus in our discussion. If you have liked previous movies such as the Linda Ronstadt documentary or the David Crosby movie that played, as well as Echo in the Canyon, this is another movie focusing on folk rock in the 60s, and specifically the Canadian musician Gordon Lightfoot. It's been available for a while, and you can go watch the movie right now, and we will be discussing it again next week. The other movie we're going to be talking about is MLK FBI. Now, this movie is going to play on our virtual site this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, February 26th through 28th. It's just going to be available for those 3 days. So, we highly recommend setting aside some time right now to watch that movie this weekend. Again, it's a super limited engagement. So when you tune in next week to our episode, it's going to be a sort of post-watch discussion. So hopefully you will have seen that movie and you want to hear our thoughts after you've already seen the movie. One thing that will still be on the site, we're going to have a Q&A with the director Sam Pollard, which can be watched on the site. That's going to be still available to watch even after the movie has left after this weekend. So that'll be something that hopefully you can watch the movie this weekend and then see the Q&A at a later date if you don't have time to this weekend. Or if you find yourself in a position where you watch the movie through some other means and you still want to support us, you can watch the Sam Pollard Q&A, which is again going to be available on our site for the time being after this weekend. We're going to have a discussion next week about MLK FBI and Gordon Lightfoot. I think I talked about MLK FBI a little bit last week, and again, that movie is about the FBI's history of wiretapping Martin Luther King during the 60s and during the Civil Rights Movement. We all just watched it, and we're pretty energized about it. And so, we're going to have a discussion here, and that'll be in next week's episode. Last thing to mention is, of course, all our links that you can go to. We've got the link tree again, which I'll mention is linktr.ee/BendFilm. That's going to have everything from the virtual screenings to events that are going on right now, the raffle for the Black Crow skis that are happening, links to reserved tables for our Thursday and Friday night ski nights. You can also find the way to donate, which again, if you go to that link tree, or you can go to the direct URL, which is benfilmmembership.eventive.org/donate. Other places to go, our Instagram, that's where you can get updates, right? The most up-to-date posts for what's going on. Otherwise, next week, our discussion of Gordon Lightfoot and MLK, and we're going to have some new movies coming up pretty soon. Everything's kind of up in the air. And also, I think we're going to do some interviews in the next couple of weeks. So there are things to look forward to. Anyway, I'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we will see you next week. Stick around for the discussion Jared and I have now for queer movies. All right, everybody. Thanks. Hey, Jared, do you want to sing a song to lead us back in?
I wish you were gay.
Oh yeah, I remember that song.
Yeah,
I just kinda wish you were gay.
that was beautiful. You
I-
sound just like Billy.
I do a pretty good Billie Eilish impression.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You also look a little like Billy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey, that's Todd,
Oh yeah, I'm Todd Leiser,
and this is Jared.
and again, it's just the two of us for the rest of this episode.
Yep, just us.
I do hope that everyone. Okay, you're still singing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I do hope everyone will go see Two of Us again. We highly recommend
Yeah,
it.
it's a good one.
I'm sure in the bumper there, I probably talked about what we're gonna watch for next time, but we don't know at this point.
Nope.
But one thing I do want to talk about, because we were thinking about what the rest of the conversation we wanted to have for this episode, and usually we try to pick up some topic that's related to the movie or related to Bend in some way, and we want to talk about queer cinema, LGBTQ cinema, and I really want to talk about its reception in Bend and also like through Tin Pan Theater, because I was just saying off mic a little bit to Jared how I do think over the last couple of years there has been more and more of a welcoming community here in Bend for queer people. I've been a part of the drag scene and a part of Pride in the last couple of years. I'm really happy to be part of that, part of the queer community, and I have seen how it has grown over the last couple of years. How there's more and more, I think, of a welcoming environment here in Bend, even though it is by no means perfect. And I think related to that is the way that we have gotten movies at Tin Pan in the past that could fall under that category on Netflix that's just called LGBTQ cinema.
Yeah, totally.
Which honestly, like, usually that category is just like, oh, here's just a bunch of movies about gay people, but nothing.
Or sometimes even like here is a movie with a gay person
exactly.
in it.
Yeah.
Like one gay character.
It is a super low bar.
Yeah, very low bar.
Whenever I like go through that category, I think, oh, I kind of want to see what's out there. I'm like, this is a dry well of queer cinema.
Yeah.
But that kind of still relates how it can be hard to find good quality movies that have gay characters or queer characters that actually gives them a full amount of humanity.
Right. Other than I'm gay.
Yeah.
Like that being the primary identifier. Yeah.
And like the whole plot revolving around the fact that this person is gay and not the fact that they just happen to be gay. It's like,
right.
The fact that they are gay is like, we're gonna structure this about how you've got trauma and how you're worrying about this. Which again, I don't want to minimize that feeling, but it stinks to see yourself on screen and think the only way that you can be depicted in a movie is by the trauma that you experience from your queerness.
We contain multitudes.
What?
And for especially for a film that isn't well thought out or a website like Netflix that is very bad with their algorithms, it does seem like a lot of things try to identify queer culture and people as that being the only aspect of their humanity or personality.
Totally.
Is their sexuality.
Yeah. And like for a good example of like, people containing multitudes, like I consider myself a queer person. I'm not gay, but like, I'm gender fluid and I express myself, I have my male days and I have my female days.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It definitely, I am not an easy peg to put in a, I can be hard to put in a box, but I definitely don't fit in the boxes still very well.
Right.
But again, again, people contain
boxes,
multiples. Yeah. But one question I want to ask you, Jared, because I was thinking about this, how our audience here at Tin Pan often responds to queer movies. We showed the Pedro Almodovar film Pain and Glory at the end of 2019. And I'm very familiar with Almodovar. I got to take a class on his movies in college, which was super cool.
Nice.
Like basically he's the most famous and respected filmmaker in Spain.
Right.
He's been making movies for 40 years. Long collaboration with Antonio Banderas, who starred in Pain and Glory.
Yeah.
And in Spain, he's the most prolific filmmaker, very openly gay, and yet like as someone like I was familiar with his movies, and so I am familiar with that, and so I always know that his movies are going to touch on characters and themes that have to do with queer communities. There's going to be gay characters no matter what. And so I was still surprised that when we showed that movie, there were people who were uncomfortable inside Tin Man watching Pain and Glory and seeing, for example, two men kiss.
Right.
And that made people uncomfortable. And again, our audience is sometimes a little bit older, even sometimes a little conservative, even though, we are an independent cinema, which I should hope that people would come to an independent cinema and expect not conservative movies.
Yeah,
but,
or at the very least something much more broad on the spectrum of film, which is weird. So I've been here. I don't know if you've noticed this since you've been here, because you've been here now just as long as I was here before you were here.
It's about 3.5 years.
Yes, yeah. So the thing that I noticed is when I first started here, our customer base was very, very young and very, very hipster.
Yeah.
And progressively, almost like by the month, it started skewing older, especially when the movie theater Pilot Butte 6 closed, and then it was almost like overnight our customer base became 2/3 senior, I would say, almost, or at least people over 40.
That tracks. I understand that, because again, my understanding, I never got to actually go to Pilot Butte 6, but everything I've read and heard about that theater is that it was the theater that specifically targeted older viewers, and that was mainly the customer base for Pilot Butte 6.
Yeah, I worked at Pilot Butte 6 for 3 years, and I'd say 75% of the customers were over 60, and then the other 25 were indie hipster kids, because we were at that time we were the only theater like playing the weird indie movies. Like we played Short Bus, when that came out, and people coming to see that were like, holy shit, you're playing Short Bus. And it's like, but 15 people are going to come see it the entire time we have it.
It's that scenario where you've got a theater that like you'll play an interesting movie for a week, and then also there's this other movie that's going to play for a couple weeks.
Right.
That is your older crowd.
And we were the only theater in town that played The Passion of the Christ when that came out.
Oh, interesting.
And that single movie like kept the theater open for another 2 years.
Yeah.
But we played a lot of queer cinema back when we were open, and you could tell the people that were there that were like interested in the film, and you could tell the people that were there that were like, I want to watch two pretty girls make out.
Right.
Like when we played Blue is the Warmest Color here at Tin Pan,
right.
There were absolutely people here that wanted to see the film. And there were absolutely people here that wanted to sit in the back and make weird noises while the 20-year-old girls had sex for real on camera.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know why that took me on a tangent.
Honestly, no. I think that is a good example, though, of how it stinks that queer cinema can still be used just to titillate,
right?
And that is definitely a disappointing thing sometimes. And like I want to live in a world where like if people want to feel sexy, they should feel sexy. But it stinks that we also live in a world where people are going to take advantage of that. But I do think Blue is the Warmest Color is a good example of the kind of queer movie that's going to play at a lot of independent cinemas, and it's going to come and play at the independent cinema that's here in Bend.
Right.
And our audience is going to be one of two ways, which is interesting because there's definitely movies about gay characters who are young, and there's movies about gay characters that are old.
Right.
And that's really where you're going to get the split, because I think all the people that are going to see a movie about older gay characters are going to be the people who actually want to see that movie.
Right. Exactly.
Like I think Two of Us falls into that. I think Pain and Glory falls into that. And I think maybe for audiences there is a sense of dependability that like if it's about an older gay couple, you can depend more often that it's going to be just a better made movie,
more authentic at the very least, and like what you said, going back to Pain and Glory, I guarantee you huge swaths of the audience that came to see that movie were people that went, okay, I've heard of Almodovar before.
Yeah.
I'm
They definitely know about Banderas.
Yeah. And out of the corner of my eye, I see that it has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So like they've heard the name Almodovar.
Yeah.
They know that it's highly thought of in cinema and independent film.
Yeah.
And then they see that it's got a huge audience score or whatever.
Yep.
And so they go see it without any knowledge of like the content or whatever.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I think a lot of people went into that having no, because I had so many people after that movie played that came up and like, so do you know anything about this director? And like they had no idea that Pedro Almodovar has been an openly gay filmmaker for 40 years.
40 years,
like,
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there definitely are a lot of people. In a way, I kind of like that because it means that probably a lot more people saw that movie than would have if they had been marketed that like it's the movie about an older gay director and dealing with his older years. Like I'm so glad that people saw that movie that maybe wouldn't have.
I'm wondering, do you think gay do you think the gay audience for that film felt like that it should have been marketed as that? Like,
no, I think that movie got marketed correctly.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that sort of brings me back to that point we said earlier of how it is extremely refreshing to watch a movie that is about gay characters that doesn't hinge on their gayness.
Right.
That it's a movie just about them being human and being people and
like,
growing up and how to actually just find connection and like the Pain and Glory. The real plot about Pain and Glory is about the character that Banderas plays, which is a fictionalization of Pedro Almodovar. I can't even say his name.
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's super hard to say. Almodovar.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I took a class on him, so I feel like I should know how to say his name, but I forget sometimes. Again, that character, the plot of that movie is about him getting this like back pain and having to go in for surgeries and how just like his body is falling apart, and that's what that movie is really about.
Right.
And then also at the same time, also recognizing that him going back and rethinking about past relationships that he used to have, and just like it's the movie. The movie's a meditation on him looking back on his life.
Right.
And so again, those are all very universal qualities. To go back to that one Martin Scorsese quote about how the personal is the most universal.
Right.
Even though the specifics of that movie are about his past gay relationships and things like that, it's still universal themes of have I lived my life to the fullest, and do I have regrets, and how am I dealing with this chronic back pain in my later life and the way that is affecting me as a person. Like
it's reflections on aging more than it is gay reflections on aging.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
that makes any sense.
Totally. I think one should still be able to watch movies like that, and it doesn't matter whether a couple is gay or straight. There's just they're just people.
Yeah.
And the feelings we have and regrets we have towards the people that we have been intimate can still be universal feelings, no matter whether they were gay or straight experiences.
Right. That's why I have so much respect for the show 6 Feet Under, because that was it. I know for a fact that there were many shows before that had a main character that was gay. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, that was the first show that I ever saw with a gay main character, because I think it was like 2003 or 4, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And that to me, as a 20-year-old or however old I was,
totally
humanized gay culture in a way that I had not seen in film before. And then Brokeback Mountain absolutely humanized gay culture in a way that I'd never seen before. It as cliche as that movie is to talk about in 2021, when I saw it as a 22 or 23-year-old, it showered me with empathy in a way that I'd never experienced before. Like when he's looking through the closet and seeing his shirts, I lost it. I absolutely lost it.
Totally.
And you try to show someone that now, and they'll probably laugh at it because it's kind of been parodied. It's like try watching like something like Forrest Gump again, and because it's been around so long in the popular culture that it doesn't play the same anymore.
Totally.
I don't know.
I get it. I don't know if I have any I don't know. I feel like I got into what I wanted to say in this conversation. I don't know if I have any other real final thoughts.
It is interesting what you said though about how you can hear the thing that you said that really struck a chord with me is that you can hear when something air quote gay happens in a movie, and you can hear parts of the audience go,
Yeah.
that was, anytime I was in the theater and that happened, I was like, oh, like that was not a great reaction.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
hoping
it-
I was hoping we had a better customer base than this.
Yeah, it can be a bit disheartening when people react negatively. I will say I don't think I've had people walk out.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
But at the very least, I do think I know that we have an audience that is receptive to queer movies. I think there are more people who are into it than they think.
Definitely.
And hey, I think again you should go watch Two of Us. It's great.
It is. It's really great.
It is good.
And those two old ladies got some heat between them. Like you believe that they've been lovers. For
That's just
20,
good casting.
30, yeah, they had. There was passion.
There's so much. That movie did not rely on dialogue. You could just tell that those two, the two actresses had great chemistry, and you understood the history that those characters had.
Right.
Yeah. You didn't need an over explanation.
Nope, not even a little bit.
That's good stuff. Turns out, human beings can communicate a lot, and we can empathize with people just by seeing them on camera, just
living.
looking at each other.
Yep.
It's
just
great.
Existing. That's all you need.
Cool. Everyone. Again, we totally recommend watching Two of Us.
Yeah. And lots of other queer cinema.
And lots of other queer cinema. I hope
so much good stuff out there.
I hope folks will continue to come to us if they want to see movies like that, because I think we want to show as many good movies that fall into that category as we can.
The best, just random shout out to one of the best queer films I've ever seen in my life that I feel like nobody's ever seen before is A Home at the End of the World. With Colin Farrell and Robin Wright Penn and Dallas Roberts, and sounds
like a great cast.
It's amazing, and it's two men and a woman that live together and become lovers, and it's like about their relation, this throuple, and it's
interesting.
It's beautiful, and it talks about bisexuality in a way that I've never to this day seen another movie do.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, A Home at the End of the World. I believe. It's definitely streaming on something. I think it's on Amazon. I'm not positive. It might be Hulu, but it's definitely on something.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
All these movies that we talk about are the movies we review are about on virtualtinpan.com.
Yep.
Donate if you can. Maybe you can become a member. Follow us on Instagram. Like, subscribe, and comment.
And we've also just started screening films for the 2021 Bend Film Festival, and it's going to be jam-packed.
Yep, it's going to happen this October 7th through the 17th, I believe.
It's going to be
hopefully
bonksies?
Bonkers.
Yeah, bonkers.
Hopefully it's going to be a combination of in-person and virtual.
Both of them.
Both of them. We will talk to you next week.
Yep, we sure will. Julie will be back with us, I'm sure.
Yep, in all likelihood.
Yep.
All right, my name's Todd Leiser.
I'm Jared Rasick. And sitting silently over to our right is Sam, who is our brilliant, brilliant sound engineer. We want to give him a shout out.
Producer Sam.
He is so damn handsome. It is insane.
This show wouldn't be possible without him.
Impossible.
I wonder if I can make him blush.
Oh, there it goes.
A little bit.
There it goes.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Talk to you soon.